Hey everyone, Quintevic here with a video request made by viewer Travis Bell, which if you make a request, I will try to get to it. I promise. Now, more Starship Troopers knowledge and lore for your brains before the brain bug attacks and destroys it all. And that is the Flyboys in the Sky, the UCF fleet. The UCF fleet is the Aerospace Warfare Service branch of the United Citizen Federation, serving as the Air Force and the Space Armada. The first subject we will be touching is their training. While you may think it would be more in depth, since they are piloting huge ships in space, they actually have around the same training time as the Mobile Infantry Boot Camp, which is roughly around 14 months. That is a rough estimate, though, since there is no direct idea, just ideas based around what is said in the books and the films and putting it all together. The training does take place close to home, though, which is on Earth's moon, the Treshkova base. Those that earn super high marks on their exams are assigned the prestigious position of pilots for Corvette Transports or the F-76 Thunderbolts. Just because you don't score high enough doesn't mean you are just barred from everything. You may become an engineer, maintenance, or weapon system tech. While doing this, I found it surprising the fleet had this on Marines. But we will get back into that in detail, so till then, here's the pin that is worn by all fleet personnel, regardless of their rank. The divisions are as follows: Fleet Operations, Fleet Starfighter Operations, Fleet Communications, Fleet Intelligence, Fleet Rescue, and Marine Corps. The Fleet Operations, the organization of naval vessels, which I wasn't able to find info about them. The title and the detail of them explains what they do enough to get the idea across. They determine what pieces go where and how and when the vessels go themselves. Pretty much like a chess game or checkers. Fleet Starfighter Operations, while it sounds similar to Fleet Operations, they dabble in it a little bit differently. They actually focus on training and organization of the TAC fighters. Example of the TAC fighter is the F-76 Thunderbolt, which we'll go into more detail later on doing the divisions. Right now, stop trying to distract me, lore. Fleet Communications, as their name suggests, try their best to keep stable communication throughout the entire fleet and Federation, which in itself is impressive, and I bet stressful, definitely in battle, when they lose all communication and can't get through to anyone, because it would be put solely on you if communications are not working. Fleet Intelligence, tasked with learning enemy movements and logistics. Now, we know they have psychic abilities and are able to know where people can be. You can understand why they are part of it. Able to know bug formations or the general idea. Whatever the fleet learns, it is through the intelligence system themselves. Fleet Rescue. They rescue the survivors of destroyed or damaged ships. That's it. I'm joking, it's not it. As the name implies, Fleet Rescue is primarily responsible for all emergency retrieval of mobile infantry troopers requesting pickup. They are also authorized to prioritize pickups from planet battlefields based on the level of urgency. So in a way, they do work for the fleet, but can make their own rules if they deem something more crucial, which I think is not to give them that much freedom and choice, since the fleet commander may not know what's going on, may not be at the scene, or get delayed details about what is actually happening. For example, the commander orders them to help with a problem as the ship blew up, but they get there and the ship said to have been blown up was actually just damaged. While a ship in another location is split in half, they can then override what the commander had ordered to something more crucial without the orders. Of course, they would report it as well, but it can make it so they can make on-flight decisions, which is crucial to saving lives. The Marine Corps. They guard ship interiors and important personnel on world missions. The Federation Marine Corps is a small infantry force assigned to defend fleet ships and installations. They carry the same standard issue weapons as the mobile infantry and maintain the same rank structure. However, unlike the mobile infantry, the Marine Corps is under the command of the fleet. The Marines wear very similar uniforms to the mobile infantry with body armor and the same helmet as the mobile infantry. However, the helmets are painted green to indicate them as Marines, and their uniforms underneath are the same as fleet jumpsuits. On the topic of uniforms, the dress uniforms for fleet officers are light gray tunics and garrison caps. On the right arm is a cuff title that has the name of their ship. And when on duty, fleet crewmen wear simple black or dark gray jumpsuits. In the event a fleet officer sees combat on the surface, they wear BDUs, battle dress uniforms, similar to the mobile infantry's. The only difference is that the helmet and the armor are black and the chest piece has the fleet badge. During the Second Bug War, with their introduction of power suits, though, fleet uniforms were updated to include an inner suit that could function without a vacuum or an area without breathable air, in conjunction with a still tight helmet, which seems very useful in space. Now the ships, and there is a ton. We will start with the capital ships. I say capital, meant capital. John A. Warden type is the large, heavy class of starship utilized by the United Citizen Federation fleet. The class is heavily armed and capable of combating significant forces. The class served during the Second Bug War and is a fleet capital ship. It is equipped with energy weapons, 4 engines, and the commanders that are notable would be Carmen Ibanez and Carl Jenkins. The crew consists of fleet personnel, mobile infantry, and military intelligence. The ship it carries along with it are as follows: landing ships, shuttles, escape pods, and rescue pods. It's a big boy. The first of these ships is what the class of ship is named after John A. Warden, ID number 7902. It was in the service during the Second Bug War several years into this war, though. The John A. Warden was captured by the Arachnids and crash landed onto Earth in an attempted invasion. The notable history of ID number 7902, or the John A. Warden, is during the Battle of Fort Casey, the John A. Warden was ordered to dock with the station and hand over its command from Captain Carmen Ibanez to General Carl Jenkins. The general ordered the John A. Warden whilst Captain Ibanez transferred to the Alicia, although not without protest. The Alicia will get touched on later. The ship had deployed its mobile infantry forces to Fort Casey. However, these troopers discovered that their ship was leaving the station and abandoned them. It is also named after Colonel John Ashley Warden III, who participated in Operation Desert Storm. Now, the John A. Warden, ID number 7903. While it may sound like I'm repeating myself, but it was actually named after the last ship after the 7902 model was destroyed, when bugs captured it and tried to assault Earth. Like its previous self, it was commanded by Carmen Ibanez and Carl Jenkins. This is when it starts being different, though. The crew is mobile infantry, military intelligence, and Marines, with Marines replacing the fleet personnel. The ship it holds is also less than the 7902 model, only holding landing ships and shuttles, taking away escape pods and rescue pods. The third ship, the Franklin, ID number 7885, was a ship in the Earth Defense Fleet stationed at the L6 satellite base during the Second Bug War, distinguished by the red trim. With 2 fast attack ships assisting it, the Franklin counterattacked against the Arachnid-controlled John A. Warden 7902 model. During this engagement, the Franklin was hit by the John A. Warden, heavily damaged and forced to disengage. It is currently unknown if it is still working or scrapped after taking the hit by the John A. Warden. It would still have energy weapons like the other ships as well as 4 engines. While I cannot find who piloted it, I can tell you the crew consisted of mobile infantry and military intelligence. The ships it has that are inside of it are as follows: landing ships, shuttles, escape pods, and rescue ships. Oh, wow. Would you look at that? Oh, sorry. Never mind. I'm going to talk bad about it. This ship was named after Benjamin Franklin. Just saying, his name is spelled like Ben Jammin. What have you been jamming to, Ben? Hopefully this sounds a victory against the bugs. The next ships we will discuss is the Athena class. The Athena class ships are a heavy transport ship that are first deployed during the Second Battle of Clendathu. The Athena class is larger than the Corvette transports that can be seen passing the Shiloh at Sanctuary. It also has 34 dropship docks, along with 3 large hangar bays. Could you imagine that? Oh my god. Their specs are as follows: weapon types as energy weapons. Standard models have 4 engines that are warp capable, while the refit will make it have 6 engines instead. That is also warp capable. It can craft DR4 Viking dropships and presumably DR8 skyhooks. The crew consists of usually personnel and mobile infantry. By the Second Bug War, some Athena-class starships received an upgrade that greatly extended their superstructure. This version of the ship type has a large exterior structure on top and below its mainline. It is unclear what the purpose of the extra sector of the ship add on, as the original ship specs have never been stated, only appearing as a FedNet advert. The first of the named ships of this class is Athena ID number 370. It is a basic model with the energy weapons, 4 engines, and is warp capable. The commander of the ship is Carmen Ibanez, with other notable people who also were transported by the ship, being Lieutenant Stack Lembrezzer, Lieutenant Johnny Rico, and Private Ace Levy. While you may be going, wait a minute, Carmen was piloting the John A. Warden just a few many words ago, and you are correct there. This ship was piloted by her before she switched to the John A. Warden, and it is not said what happens to the ship after she switches. It kind of just goes AWOL. The crew consists of mobile infantry, military intelligence, PSYOPs, and Marines. Ships are as follows: the DR4 Viking dropship, F-76 Thunderbolts, landing boats, shuttles, escape pods, and the rescue ships. This ship was supposed to be named the Sparta, while the name Athena was originally made for the Roger Young at Corvette Transport. Didn't really work out, I guess. The Shiloh ID number is a highly upgraded Athena class starship. The ship has large superstructures above and below the ship that regular Athena class do not bear. Therefore, the ship is as tall as it is long, unlike the standard ship design, which has a little height. Being modified, that would mean it would have 6 engines instead of the normal 4, but here's a doozy. Its weapons not only being energy weapons, but also have the Q-bomb, a planet destroyer. Its crew consists of mobile infantry, M11 Baybar Marauders, and Marines. The Shallow was stationed at Sanctuary when Johnny Rico first arrived. Rico was then transferred to the Shallow along with General Hauser, where on a hangar deck he saw for the first time the M11 Baybar Marauders, a team of troopers who were chosen for a mission and transferred to the Shallow, upon which it left Sanctuary in search of the Omar Noki, the missing Sky Marshal. The first Marauder team is stationed aboard the Shallow, and they are the first to be ever used on the Battle of OM-1. I covered them in the last video, but to sum it up, it's giant robots with the guns, because a small bug is a dead bug. Known people who visited the Athena-class starship is as follows. General Dix Hauser, Colonel Johnny Rico, promotion is in order, Lieutenant Link Manion, Lieutenant Danner, Sergeant Hightower, Sergeant J. Kirby, Sergeant Sunday, and Private Skinner. With that list out of the way, it was also named after the Battle of Shiloh during the American Civil War. The York, also with no ID number, much like the Shiloh, is an upgraded Athena class that was a flagship for the Anilo Fid until she became a Sky Marshal and offered command of the ship to Lolo Beck. As a flagship, the York is a light gray with a red stripe along its side instead of the usual blue color of the Athena class ships. It is equipped with 6 engines, energy weapons, and put the cherry on top, a Q-bomb, which it actually does use. Commander is Sky Marshal Anelio Fid, crew consisting of mobile infantry, M11 bomber units, and Marines. The York was present over planet OM-1. Are you guys ready? I'm ready. The York is used as a flagship for fleet orbiting OM-1 while Colonel Rico launched a ground attack with the M11 Marauders on the planet's surface. It is unclear whether the Marauders were launched from the York or the Shallow since they were both hovering around it. After the Marauders' mission was complete, all federal personnel were removed from the planet. Here it comes, boys. Sky Marshal Anelio Fid ordered the use of the Q-bomb against OM-1. The York then deploys the Q-bomb, which destroyed the planet. Oh yeah. Notable people on the ship at one time or another. Sky Marshal Anelio Fid, General Dix Hauser, Captain Lolo Beck, Colonel Johnny Rico, Lieutenant Link Manion, Lieutenant Danner, Sergeant Hightower, Sergeant J. Kirby, Sergeant Sunday, and Private Skinner. To the next class recon, we're going to go for this. The class recon cruiser type cruiser. Yes. It's a recon cruiser, and its ship type is a cruiser. It's confusing, but you get it. It was deployed by the United Citizen Federation fleet prior to the First Bug War, after the discovery of the arachnid species on Klindathu. A recon cruiser, Cortez, was sent to investigate and make first contact. Although the ship was nearly directly in contact, a shuttle deployed from it, as well as several of its beacons, were attacked by arachnid forces. Now, are you guys ready for how that worked out? This little tiny cruiser? ID number 003, the Recon Cruiser Cortez, is a pre-First Bug War starship of the United Citizen Federation fleet. Considered very modern at the time, the Cortez was in service for 30 years before the war. Its function is recon if the name didn't get that across, and boy golly did it. Commander is seen with a crew of just mobile infantry and ships being shuttles and escape pods. After the discovery of the arachnids on Klindathu, Cortez was sent to recon and study them. Probes were launched by the surviving members, and it just did not work, because Cortez left the system to return to Earth after they got attacked, because they were immediately attacked by warrior bugs and were forced to evacuate. And not everybody survived. The people that survived and the ones that are on the ship is Seen, which is the commander, Loban Gilla is the xenobiologist, Diaz the MI trooper, Razdek the MI trooper, Bullfinch first pilot, and Haggard the second pilot. Corvette transports, yes. They're a type of a transport, and they're called Corvette transports. used throughout the First Bug War and remained in service until the Second Bug War. During the early offensive against the Arachnids, the Corvettes were mostly common capital ships used by the United Citizen Federation to deploy dropships, TAC fighters, and material to planets across the galaxy. The class carries 18 dropships, and specialized variants also carry multiple TAC fighters in the upper flight deck. By the Second Battle of Klendathu, an Athena class was introduced to the fleet. However, Corvette Transport still remained the most numerous starship in the fleet, staying in service well into the Second Bug War. Assuming it keeps up with the other ships of its type, I would assume it has 4 engine types. Even 2, maybe. It is not stated or whether it has weapons. I would say it does not, since it is a transport ship. It might have flares, which we will get into later on. The Terran Federation Corvette Transport Roger Young is the most notable Corvette transport ship, aboard which the Roughnecks are stationed. The ship is fast but very small, carrying only 1 platoon of mobile infantry, which is the smallest field deployed unit of the MI. Commanded by an officer. Roger Young's commanding officer is Captain Yvette Delander. Her retrieval signal is the Song of the Ballad of Roger Young. The ship is named after Roger Wilton Young, a private who posthumously earned the Medal of Honor in the Pacific Theater of War in World War II. The Fast Attack Ship, or the FASS, FASS for short, is the class of starship in service with the United Citizen Federation fleet. Several of these ships saw service during the Second Bug War. The Fast Attack Ship, hence its name, is constructed for high-speed combat and flanking maneuvers. The FASS is armed with 2 double-energy cannons and mounted on the bow and the midsection of the ships. Concept art shows that they have 8 smaller turrets, 4 on each side of the ship. Speed-wise, the FASS has 3 sublight engines, arranged in a triangle shape. You might be asking why I say that, because it's just fun to do that. The engines are better and more faster than John A. Warden type ships, making them a force to be reckoned with. But what gets sacrificed with speed? Ding ding ding, armor! That is right. The FASS has very light armor, as it's meant for rapid assaults, unlike the John A. Warden types, which possesses more and far sturdier armor. The light armor of the FASS is also its weakness. With ships sustaining heavy damage after a few weapon impacts, its normal frontal armor is still durable, enough to resist several weapon impacts, but its broadside was noticeably weaker, and just a few impacts can easily destroy a FASS in seconds. The most notable exploit of the broadside weakness is when the destruction of the Elysia. The FASS was docked to a big captured John A. Warden, which we have discussed, and without warning, the bigger ship trained its guns and fired 4 times at the Elysia, with the first 2 piercing through the armor and coming out from the other side, and the other 2 shots, which impacted the unfortunate FASS, destroyed the Elysia with all his hands except for his marine squads. The light armor renders the FASS unsuitable for the frontline combat. You think? I don't know. The FASS Elysia, ship number ID number 10024, is a fast attack ship and home to the Roughnecks AO-1 team. The ship is tasked with escorting the John A. Warden from Fort Casey back to Earth, suited with energy weapons with 3 sublight engines but light armor. Due to the disappearance of the John A. Warden, the Elysia and the mobile infantry troopers aboard the ship were ordered to find the missing ship by General Rico. After the troopers discovered the John A. Warden had been taken over by the Arachnid Queen, the Elysia went to retrieve the troopers. However, the Elysia was destroyed by the John A. Warden under the Queen's control before any trooper could board the ship. Notable personnel on it is as follows: Captain Jonah, the commanding officer; Captain Carmen Ibanez, passenger aboard; Lieutenant Tony Daughtry, CO A1 team, or commanding officer; Corporal Ice Blonde, not making that up; Sergeant Mech Chase Chow, Shockjaw, which is a medic; Tia Durr, the sniper; Major Henry Vero, the CO of the K-12 team; Lieutenant Otis Hacks, Sergeant Radis, Holy Man, and Charon. Holy Man, you know what's up. I bet he listens to some pretty pog music. The name of the ship comes from the Battle of Elysia, 52 BC, in eastern France, where Vercingetorix, I butchered the name, I am sorry, surrendered to Julius Caesar. The Sheridan was a fast attack ship in the Earth Defense Fleet. During the John A. Warden incident, the Sheridan engaged the Arachnid-controlled John A. Warden, whereupon it was destroyed by several energy weapon hits against its hull. It would have the same energy weapons and engines as the previous ship, and it was named after Philip Sheridan, a Union general in the American Civil War. So, I mean, there's that at least. The only other FASS is the Ishizuka. I guess we could say it was, but it was able to retreat, so it could still be alive. a fast attack ship in the Earth's defense fleet. During the John A. Warden incident, the Ishizuka engaged the Arachnid-controlled John A. Warden, whereupon it retreated after several energy hits against its hull. With a crew of mobile infantry, it shares the same engine and weapons as the previous ships. The ship might be named after Saigen Ishizuka, a doctor in the Imperial Japanese Army who pioneered the concepts of food education and microbiotic diet. With fast ships out of the way, it is time for auxiliary ship type 1 and 2. Its ship type is a small support ship. Several types of auxiliary ships can be seen in the fleet during the Battle of Klendathu. These ships serve a number of different purposes, including tenders, ships that provide maintenance for larger ships, fire support, transport, and command communications. That was fast, huh? Other than the picture, that is all the info I can find about them. With the big guns out of the way, it is now time to get to the small craft. The drop shuttle. Ship type, anybody want to guess? Shuttle. Was in service 29 years prior to the Battle of Klendathu, not to be confused with the DR-4 Viking, and it was used for the first time during the first failed human-arachnid contact. I just love that it's the first failed. Like, oh, yeah, that's all the info it has. I'm assuming it did not make it. The DR-4 Viking is a dropship that was used by the fleet of the United Citizen Federation for transportation of mobile infantry troops. These ships have been used in missions during the conflicts with the Arachnids during the First Bug War, and also a little bit of the Second. It has 2 rear engines, which are sublight only, and the weapons. Oh man, the weapons. The bugs will quake in their grounds. Flares. Their weapon is flares. It will have a crew of 2 pilots and mobile infantry platoon that is carrying. The Federation uses its Vikings to move troops for capital ships in order to a planet's surface and back. The standard dropship is capable of transporting up to 50 mobile infantry troopers for quick entry in battle. For rapid retrieval, the fleet uses its own dropship, which is smaller and faster than mobile infantry dropships. These dropships were heavily used on all landings throughout the First Bug War and the Second Bug War, until they were phased out by the newer dropships, more suitable for power suit equipped mobile infantry. Viking dropships have been shown being deployed from Corvette Transports and Athena-class starships, only with later starship models lacking the distinctive hangar bays used for the DR-4 Viking. Sky Marshal Amor Anak used the Admiral's boat variant of the DR-4 Viking to visit Rokusen Military Assistance Base for an inspection. This shuttle was later landed on OM-1, however. Its environment system failed, killing its crew before auto landing. Yep. Back to the story. During the Battle of Qualasha, a gunship variant of the DR-4 Viking was available for close fire support, which had its troop section completely removed for close fire support, which usually was a physical round instead of energy weapons. The final variant of the DR-4 Viking is the Admiral's boat. Instead of a modified hull for fire support, it will have a modified hull for a flag officer and relative comfort along with a small unit of bodyguards, as opposed to the standard DR-4, which is designed to carry as many troopers as possible, with a crew of 2 pilots. That sounds pretty relaxing, right? Yeah. One of these boats would be stationed per capital ship near the command deck of vessels such as Athena class and the Corvette Transport, instead of landing in a hangar bay. When docked, the boat's airlock would open directly into a hallway of the ship once the lock is airtight, which is kind of scuffed if you think about they have a special transport. They are commanders, though. Not only that, but a bodyguard unit of Marines would be at all times stationed aboard the Admiral's boat, even when stationed on board a capital ship. This made for quick deployment of them during an emergency evacuation situation. And imagine just going on that little tiny ship and just waiting when you're on a giant ship. Not only that, though. Notable times, Sky Marshal Anok's dropship was used to take him to Rokusen and then away after the Arachnid forces attacked and overwhelmed the base. The boat was later used by the Marines to carry them from the badly damaged Geronimo to the nearby planet OM-1. Oh, yeah, that's Geronimo. Or Geronimo. Geronimo is probably what it is. Unfortunately for the Marines, though, their ship was damaged upon exiting the Geronimo and suffered an oxygen leak, killing all on board, which is sad. The DR-8 Skyhook. Ship type is shuttle/light dropship. A crew of 1 pilot, then whoever it would be carrying. It is a small dropship and a landing boat used by the fleet of the United Citizen Federation for transporting personnel and for rescuing mobile infantry units in enemy territory. Landing boats are very similar, and it could be assumed that larger vessels are used for large transfers of personnel when not at dock. It is small and fast, making it great for quick ins and get outs, like the DR-8 Skyhook which was used to rescue mobile infantry troopers from whiskey outposts on Planet P during the First Bug War. The F-76 Thunderbolt, ship type bomber, commonly known as the Tactical Airspace Control Fighter Bomber, or the TAC fighter for short, is the main starfighter / bomber of the United Citizen Federation fleet. TACs are most commonly used by the fleet and tend to be stationed on board many Corvette transports. During the Klendathu system campaign, TACs were used almost completely for bombing missions against Arachnid positions on the planet's surfaces before the mobile infantry was deployed in those areas or nearby regions. Despite of the fact that the TAC is classified as a fighter, it has only ever been seen on screen in the role of a bomber. It is possible that although the TAC fighter was designed for an air combat role, it was used as a bomber due to two reasons: a lack of a true bomber in the fleet, and the Arachnid's lack of a starfighter aircraft, which were in the novel universe. There's two small craft that I cannot find the name for, but one is a dropship for a Marauder unit during the First Bug War, while the other a replacement of the DR-4 Viking during the Second Bug War. With small craft vanishing, it is now time for the final subject: bases and stations. Sanctuary is a human colony and a planet in a Federation space. It has very little radiation, so although it is very similar to Earth, it also, in most ways, it has very little life on it. Human colonists have brought their own plants and material to the planet, which quickly overran the native wildlife. The population largely supplies the Federation's military, based at Sanctuary and in orbit. The federal military uses Sanctuary as a second major military base to keep its fleet safe from enemy attacks, since the Arachnids did not know of its location. In orbit over Sanctuary are the Federal Fleet headquarters, which maintain the fleet and consists of several orbital stations. Its location is top secret, as if the bugs were to discover it, they would be able to destroy it and have free access deep into the Federation and Earth. Only a handful of captains, including Lola Beck, know Sanctuary's coordinates. During the Second Bug War, Dix Hauser takes Johnny Rico to Sanctuary's fleet headquarters along with a survival squad of his troopers from the Battle of Rokusan. They were then transported to the Athena-class starship Shiloh, which carried 7 Marauder mech units. Rico and his troopers were then enlisted into the Marauder project as the ship left the system. Luna Base, as the name suggests, is based on the Earth's moon. Luna is the Terran Federation's Sol system base, used to protect Earth from enemy attacks and to house the Space Navy. It is the Federation Navy's largest base, possibly, strategically located in the proximity to Earth and massive in capacity. The lunar base can house countless ships of almost any size, including Corvette Transports, dropships, DR-8 Skyhooks, F-76 Thunderbolts, and possibly an Admiral's boat. The defense mechanisms of the lunar base are missile defense turrets and other small turrets. Seeing how it circles the moon, it must have taken decades to complete. A fairly basic approximation gives a length of about 6,400 kilometers of a ring suspended 300 kilometers above the surface, which is just wow. Could you imagine just seeing that? Be like an actual ring around Saturn. The L6 satellite base is one of the orbital bases located within the Sol system. Its purpose is to monitor the solar system as well as defend Earth from any hostile attacks. The station is placed under the command of General Johnny Rico and stores the Marauder team of the Roughnecks with Marauder Mark II vehicle suits. Just a side note, I love how Rico is just gaining ranks as I keep saying his name. The L6 base detected the John A. Warden exited a wormhole into the Sol system and headed directly towards Earth. An attempt to contact the ship failed and the ship was considered hostile. After heading towards the collision course with the station, the L6 defenses were brought online and several ships deployed to counter the John A. Warden, which was under the Arachnid's control. And fire was exchanged between the combatants, with several fleet ships being destroyed and damaged after the crash on the surface, though, by the John A. Warden and the Arachnids on the planet. Nuclear missiles were launched from the station directly at the ship in order to prevent the Arachnid outbreak through the planet. However, the nuclear missiles were all destroyed by the John A. Warden. Fun fact, L stands for lunar. Nemesis is a Federation Martian orbital base for training Martian units, or recruits. The base is in orbit of Mars prior to the first Battle of Mars. The base was under the command of Colonel John Rico, after his demotion from General. Oh no, I spoke too soon. Due to the failure to prevent an Arachnid queen bug from reaching Earth, Colonel Johnny Rico was transferred to Nemesis Base to training Martians in the mobile infantry. One squad he was training was performing so poorly, Rico named them the Lost Patrol. When unexpectedly bug plasma began hitting the station from Mars' surface, though, it was realized that a massive bug infestation had secretly occurred on the planet. Rico took Lost Patrol and escaped the station on board a dropship. Shortly afterwards, plasma hit completely destroyed Nemesis Station. Fleet Battle Station Ticonderoga, ID number 51. It is a fleet battle station operated by both the fleet and the United Citizen Federation. During the Klendathu campaign in the First Bug War, Ticonderoga was used as the command base for the invasion of Klendathu. A fleet of Corvette ships was launched from the base, and after the defeat of the battle, the fleet retreated to the base. Ooh, yeah. Where many damaged, destroyed vessels were gathered for repairs and salvage. That is all we really have heard of it in the movie. And they did get hit pretty hard. But it didn't say that Ticonderoga actually got hit. It was just the ships coming to it. The final one, and a place you have heard throughout the video, Fort Casey. Fort Casey was a Federation outpost on an asteroid near a planet that was being attacked by the Arachnids. The defense team stationed there is a K-12 team under the command of Henry Vero, but no more is told about it from what I could find. It said it was destroyed. And it said there is a rivalry between the Marines and the mobile infantry, but I think it's just a friendly rivalry, pretty much like the real life rivalry between Air Force and Marines, etc. With that, it will be the end of my fleet lore and ships video. This was such a big undertaking, and I appreciate the love I got through. Like everything. I appreciate it. I appreciate Travis Bell suggesting this, and for my editor, Paragon, for being amazing at editing everything together to make this video as cohesive as possible. If you like what you heard, please press that like button. Maybe even give me a little subscribe if you feel so inclined. Post in the comments about what I should make my next video on, and who knows, I could choose your idea. More than likely I will. Thank you all so much. Until next time, everybody, stay informed.